Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasts.
It can take only one person to destroy your life, but it can also take just one person to completely turn your life around and help you heal.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is True Crime Connections. I'm your host, Tiffany. Today, I'm with Susan Glenney, and we are going to talk about how trauma reflects on our... Let's try that again. I need to edit myself. Okay. Today, we are talking with Susan Glenney, who is here to tell us how relationships impact ourselves in every different dynamic, whether it's with our family, our friends, relationships. It really impacts every instance. So Susan, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I really appreciate being here. And yeah, I'm an author. I'm also a pickleball player. I'm a New Englander, and I'm a late bloomer. And I'm also an incest survivor. So that is the reason why I'm a late bloomer. But I wrote in a later age, starting with journal writing, and it was a healing process for me. And then later, I wrote for a few newspapers, but then I went back to journal writing, and it kept blooming. And out of that came my publications. And my first book is called Moments in Time with 16 Men. And in it, it stars Jennifer Grace Donnelly, and she's an award-winning teacher. And what happens is, in the middle of her life, she starts getting all these flashbacks and night terrors, and she doesn't know what's going on. In her day life, she's, highly productive, appears very normal functioning, and is able to keep her worlds divided. But later on, it overtakes her, so she has to leave teaching and find out what is going on. And so that is part of the Moments in Time with 16 Men, because one of those men had a huge impact on her in a very negative way. And I show in life, in that book, how one person can devastate you, and it also takes just another person that can help heal you. And then you have people all across in between. And in life, sometimes we might meet someone at a bus station or on an airplane, or you're just crossing paths and you start a conversation and you don't realize it, but maybe 10 years later, or 5 years later, or next day, you realize the impact that that person has on you. And so what I show in the Moments in Time with 16 Men is the impact that these men, the good, bad, and ugly, and horrific, have had on Jennifer. And how she weaves through all this. And then later, she has to uncover that one man who devastated her. But what keeps her balanced is her own healing process, and also the good men in the book that have helped her out. And then from that, I did a spin-off, and it's called The Bow Tie. And that's a deeper version of The Unknown Man. And I just finished it this March. And you know what? I got one of the best birthday presents in my entire 66. I think that's how old I am now. Yeah. 66 years. Yeah, and after a while, you just have to recount. I'm between, let's see, 60 and 70 on some days, and maybe 50 and 60 on other days. But today, I'm officially 66. So on my birthday, I got the best gift I could ever get. State, which is a British publication. It's basically a British firm that specializes in getting really high quality books out where they merge authors and marketers and authors and editors, and they produce these really good quality books. So anyway, they worked with me and I worked with them. And they gave me on my birthday my best gift. It was best women's fiction best women's fiction, the bow tie. It was selected as best women's fiction in their newsletter. So that was the best birthday gift I've had in many years. So
That's great.
Yeah, we all need a little, we all needed some cheerleader. And it's great when the cheerleader appears in written word, So that was really good. And, the thing is with the books is it's about the healing process in life. That's what it's really about. And we can't always do it though. But eventually we can.
You have to be ready.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Sometimes you aren't. And it may take years. But if you hit rock bottom, and you've hit it enough, you're either going to go away and not be here on the earth, or else you're going to have to dig up. And that's what Jennifer did. And she got help. And she got help through several sources, but one of her sources was actually a friend of hers that worked in a card shop with her, and the friend was a survivor, but they didn't know each other. They became friends at the card shop, and it wasn't until after a year when Jennifer had kind of a meltdown at the card shop that the card shop owner approached her and said, "What's going on?" And Jennifer didn't say anything. The woman said, I'm here. Tell me what's going on." And there was silence in the room. Finally, Jennifer, just for the first time in her life, she let it out about the abuse. And the woman, after they talked, said, "Jennifer, I have something to tell you. The same thing happened to me with my stepfather." So Jennifer had this beautiful person in her life as an anchor. And they both experienced the same thing. But what I purposely did in the book is I have it so that you have two people that are incest survivors, but they both heal in different ways. And that's one of the things a person has to know is when they've had a lot of trauma, they've got to first acknowledge it. They've got to say, yes, this happened. They've got to really acknowledge it, because once you acknowledge it, that's the number one key to changing. So you acknowledge it, yes, this happened, and then you seek help in some way, either through a hotline or a really close friend that you can really trust. And then from there, you develop tools that work for you. Now, what's really interesting with me in my life is 30, 40 years ago, none of these tools were out there. Very seldom did you have hotlines. No one ever talked about it. You kept everything totally locked up. Families never talked about it. So you're basically on your own. And so what now is, I think, really good with the medical and the mental health field is that the resources are out there, but it's up to you to acknowledge that, yes, this happened, and two is to get help. And also to be really gentle with yourself, because you're in a vulnerable situation. So you really need to do it one step at a time. And if you can have it, it's almost like being in an emergency room. You have someone you really can count on there with you emotionally. And so they may be there next to you while you're making the phone call. They may not, but you can do it. And you just have to decide what sources work for you. We're all very different. We're wired differently. And so I have it like in the book. I have it so that the woman says, "Jennifer, why don't you get a massage?" And she goes, "Gosh, no, I can't do that. I can't have anybody touching me. Maybe I can have someone do my nails, and that's it." Whereas Alicia, the woman, the bookstore owner, said, "That really helps me." So that's what I do is I have it so to show how tools can vary from person to person and therapists can vary. And it's a lot of work, but if you find the right tool you can carry with it throughout your entire life. Some tools you may say, oh, this doesn't work for me anymore. Yes. For example, journal writing, that works for me. And what's really nice is it's free. You don't have to order it on Amazon. You don't have to think about it. You can go to the dollar store. I go to the dollar store and I get all these books, notebooks, and you can do whatever you want with them, and you can write on them. And you know what's really cool is you're in the driver's seat. When you write, that's between you and the book. These are your words that you're putting out. And if you're afraid someone's going to read them, then you can rip them up, you can burn them, you can put them in the garbage. But those words, that's your power there. And what's really cool is you can look at them the next day, the next week, and it's a reflection on yourself. And you can say, my God, that's how I felt. Or I didn't know that. It's like looking at yourself in the mirror. Jennifer looked at herself in the mirror when she reread her thoughts. And it's a great learning tool. And it doesn't cost anything. And you can do it whenever. So that is a great tool. And then you can have fun with it. You can do pictures. And then the other thing is, if you're angry, you can throw the book across the room. I believe me, I've done that several times.
I was going to say, how many times have you done that?
I'm surprised I don't have a few dents in the wall. But it's your book. It's your power. And you can do whatever you want with it. And that's the great beauty of it.
Words are powerful. So are thoughts. Thoughts become things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A support system and an outlet to get out whatever it is that you're feeling is so important. You can't keep it bottled up. People think they can shove it down and it'll just stay in this perfect little box, and it ain't staying in that box. It's coming out.
Absolutely. It always comes out. And it could be a disease, it could be an illness, it could be a car accident, it could be rage. It's in your body, and it will come out in a very negative fashion if you don't deal with it. And that will not be fun. And the more you deal with it, it's like peeling off the layers. Sometimes it's really hard. You feel really raw. You feel vulnerable. It's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm really ashamed of myself, or I feel guilty. And that's part of the process, is to say, you know what, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through those thoughts. And then what happens is you become more vulnerable, and you say, it's okay if I'm vulnerable. It took me decades to even say I can be vulnerable. See, I'm 66, so I've been around the block a few times. When you're younger, it's like, I don't want to be vulnerable, but it's okay. Being vulnerable is actually a really sign of strength. So I encourage you all, wherever you are in your situation, is to say that you can get through this. And it's always an evolution. I used to think, when I become big and spiritual, well, I'm going to have all the answers and everything's going to be okay. And that is like the biggest crock of crap. Because you're always evolving. Stuff is still going to come up. But the difference is you react to it differently. You do not, the old self is like squished, it's diminished. It's like I've evolved. I'm no longer that little girl. And sometimes one of my things is I go through each age I am, and I say, I love you to each of myself at each age. I love you, and I'm taking care of you now. And I go through it. That's a little thing exercise I give them. So that I'm really loving myself in all my phases in my life.
Well, back in the day, they didn't want to talk about this stuff. They told you suppress, suppress, suppress. I think as time went on and more research has been done, and you see the outcomes of people who keep it all bottled in, they explode eventually because it can't stay there. So I'm just so thankful that society has kind of caught up and said, no, let's deal with this, face it, and move past it.
Absolutely. I would say it's been up the last 15 years. And I am just grateful And that also two certain celebrities have come out, or Olympic athletes have come out of what some of the people have done, which is like horrific, just things that is like, wow. So that, I think, opened the doors for everyday people to say, okay, this is really happening. And it's also happening to me. And what's really good now is there's resources and there's help. So I'm just so grateful for all those people now and before me that really shed the light. But ultimately, it's up to you to accept it and get help. And no one can do that but you. Also, like I said before, it can take one person to damage your life, but it can also take just one person to be there and heal your life. And that's really important, to find the right person as a anchor for you. And Jennifer found hers in her book, so that was really good. And if I could read a passage from the bow tie.
Absolutely.
And then I was going to say is the percentage of each book sold goes to the New Horizons Domestic Violence Services in Middlesex County, Connecticut.
I love that. I think that's amazing.
Let's see. Thank you. I put the bookmark in the wrong place, and that wasn't good. So let me just see. Here we are. Okay. So this is dealing with Jennifer, and it's in the bow tie. And the other thing I didn't bring up was that Jennifer did major forgiveness work, but it was a real effort for her. And that is a great tool. Now, not everybody can do it, but if you can, that's great. And what's interesting is Alicia, the card shop holder, couldn't do the forgiveness work with her stepfather. Again, I show you is everybody's on their own path. And you've got to find out what works for you and go with that. That's the key. So here we are. And this is Jennifer. It was golden hour as Jennifer, back in Portland, parked her car near a grassy spot overlooking the Atlantic. She spread out her favorite blue blanket and opened her craft box. Inside were dozens of origami swans she made from the unmailed forgiveness letters that she had written to her father, uncle, and mother. There was also one paper boat in which she placed the bow tie. The tide was going out as she walked down to the ocean with her box of swans. She stood knee-deep in the water and gazed out at the brilliant blue horizon. She thought about what a peaceful evening it was, and she felt grateful. But she thought about how far she'd come and how thankful she was to be alive. Gazing down at her box of paper swans, she remembered the day, now years in the past, when she had made them with her students, telling the kids never to forget how much they mattered. At last, she was learning to listen to herself. Tears spilt down Jennifer's face as she dropped the birds in the water, one by one. The boat containing the bow tie followed last. She gave it a little push. Jennifer watched her pain transformed into art float toward the horizon. Taking a deep, shuddering breath, she inhaled the salty ocean air, and her face broke involuntarily into a smile. A real smile, full of joy and peace, for no one but herself in the vast open ocean. And these are the origami swans that Jennifer made, that she made when she put her forgiveness letters on. And she also made them, she was a teacher, she made them with her students. And what's interesting is when she made them with her students, she told them how each swan really mattered. But at the time, she couldn't believe it about herself. So years later, when she made the origami swans with the forgiveness letters, she finally realized that she mattered.
That's deep.
So yeah, origami swans are great. Origami is also really a nice healing project for people. It releases a lot of kind of tension and anxiety. And I feel like origami. I am not very good at origami in real life, but Jennifer, the character in my book, is really good. So just listen to her and not me. Don't follow my instructions for a guy, but you can follow hers,
Right. And there's so many different modalities out there, so many different techniques. Like art therapy is huge.
Yes.
People,
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I'm just so excited because now people can really get help. And I'm very grateful that help is there for you, but you've got to reach out.
yep, nobody can heal you but you.
Exactly. Yeah. And right now for me, another thing is I do a lot of walking with Four Season Gal. And when I was a little kid, going outdoors was a real safe place for me. And it continues to be. Being outdoors is very nurturing. So I encourage you, if you can, to find a spot to just walk around a little, you know? And again, that's a freebie. If you live near a place, you don't have to fly there. You just have to go there. So many studies have been done about the healing benefits of nature and being outdoors. You're breathing the oxygen, you're connecting, you're getting grounded. And what that does is just lowers your stress and anxiety, and it just makes you feel whole. And I encourage you to do it if you can without listening to music or being on your phone, because you'd be distracted then and you can't really listen to the birds. And there's a big difference when you can listen to nature and also be part of it.
Yeah, I've heard that. Like, especially when people have like panic attacks and anxiety, you like look for the senses.
Yep, using the five senses. Right, right. And tapping is another great thing that works for a lot of people. And I've known people who have meetings and they'll be doing their tapping underneath the table. No one sees it, so it's a way of releasing anxiety. So again, it takes effort to find the tools, but they're out there. And the other thing is you can always go to YouTube videos, and if you want to like learn about tapping or origami, or you can go to certain YouTube videos on find answers that way. And then you can, that can be your, the basic platform. Then maybe you can get a book at the library or at Amazon, or find out more on the subject of healing that works for you, on whatever method works for you.
Have
It
you
takes
tried any of the newer modalities?
tapping I do sometimes. Yeah, I do tapping. That's the one that I'm really doing. And I continue to do forgiveness work, but I'm big into yoga and meditation. I do that. I've done that off and on for like 20 or 30 years. And that really works for me. But my big go-to is being outdoors. Like today, for example, I'll go outdoors and have a big cup of coffee, sit on the grass, and just like watch everything, the cars, the mosquitoes, and slap them maybe, the birds. I'm out there for like 10 minutes. I don't stay there too long because, the sun is, I like the sun, but it's not good to be out there like baking in the sun, for your skin. So I'm out there for maybe 10, 15 minutes, but it really fuels me. And again, I'm so lucky I can walk right outdoor to my apartment and there's there's a little plot of grass. So that's a real sanctuary for me.
Yeah. Vitamin D is good for you too. It's good for your soul.
Really? I didn't know that. Wow.
Mhm.
That's good. I take it vitamin D. So that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's great how many things are out there. Like there's EMDR, there's RTT. I mean, there's
Mhm.
just so many. And
Right,
people swear it's great.
right, right. So that's what I really encourage is take the time to find the tools. And if one doesn't work, then go to another one. But you don't want to overwhelm yourself. Just do it little bits at a time, and be gentle and patient with yourself. What I really encourage. I am kind of at a crossroads in my life, and I'm thinking, Susan, you're starting a new chapter. You're starting a new story. I don't mean literally writing, but I mean in my life, I'm starting a new world for me, after the bow tie's been published. And I'm really excited, starting to play more pickleball and hopefully to travel more. I'm really open to receiving what the world has to offer me now. During COVID or before that, I wasn't able to because I was also taking care of my mom, and during COVID, everything shut down. But I decided now's the time to really open up. But it's been it's a long journey, and it will continue to be a journey. But I'm trying to live in a very loving, kind space. That's my goal.
You need that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially there's enough nonsense out there. So
Right. Well, like with the news, I encourage you I read the newspaper, but to really not get attached to the news because it's a real downer. I mean, we know what's going on in some of the real, the Middle East and Russia-Ukraine thing. It's very devastating. People's lives are at stake. And they've done a lot of studies about if you really get too tapped into the news, it really drains you. So truly limit your intake of the news. And that's what I do. And there's some days where it's like, oh gosh, I can't read this. And, I read it to know what's going on, but I try not to get attached to it. And what's really interesting, what's really cool is this woman who, she works with the New York Times, and I'm not sure if she's also independent, works kind of with other newspapers. What I saw this article, I thought, wow, this is really cool, where she's saying how what she wants to do is incorporate good news with regular news. And and that's great. She doesn't mean something like a Hallmark card or too Pollyannish or too over the top. That's like totally, but just there's a lot of positivity in the world. There's a lot of good people in the world. There's people who are doing really good things, but that really isn't news because it doesn't sell. It's not negative. It's not sensational, but we really need a balance for our souls. And she's like, well, she's talking, she lives in LA. She's talking about doing stories on different parts of California. And it's like, wow. I mean, I just think it's really good. She's capturing news that's more on the positive side. And then she'll also do maybe another one that isn't so positive, but it's the combination. And I think that's a
balance.
Right. I think it's a really good way for newspapers to go without being, too extreme. You don't want like totally all negative and then totally all this fluff. You don't want fluff. You can have good news without it being fluff. And I think people really crave that too. And I thought she's like, wow, I have a lot of respect for her. I thought she's right on. She's like right on to something.
Well, yeah. I mean, if not, it's so depressing. It's like this crime happened, this war's happening. It's just, you go down that rabbit hole, you might not come out. Exactly.
So please limit yourself to the news with negative people, just limit yourself with that. That's another thing. It's real important to take care of yourself. And it's not easy. It's hard work. And someone said to me a few years ago where I read it is, you want to treat yourself like your best friend. So that's what I encourage you all to do is treat yourself like your best friend. And that will help you change. That will help you take care of yourself if you so desire. That's what everybody needs. We need positivity. We need positive results. And we need to start changing the way we all think, because I feel like every day everybody wakes up and it's like another day. What's going to happen today? Da, 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 da. And instead of thank you for letting me wake up today, thank you for whatever it is that you're going to do, we need to start changing our verbiage. Words are extraordinarily powerful. I do gratitude work every day. And some days, if it's hard to find some gratitude, I'll say, thank you, breath. Because without my breath, I wouldn't be here. And, thank you, breath. Thank you for the clean air. Thank you for the cup of coffee. Thank you for the, 5-star review. So it's that mindset. That is so much of life. People don't realize it's your words become your feelings, and also your feelings become your words. But that's really what drives you forward. If you're talking to yourself negatively all day long, guess what? That's not a good way to live. And it's going to really put you in a depressing state. We all say negative stuff every once in a while. That's normal, but I'm talking about a regular basis. I think what it is you have to be aware. You have to be aware of your thoughts, catch them before they overtake you. Something that took me decades is your mind sort of going on autopilot of you idiot, you jerk, blah, blah, blah. And it's on autopilot and you're not even registering. It's like background music. So it's really important to listen to your words, your thoughts. It's as if, like I said to people, let's say you had a roll of toilet paper and you wrote down all your thoughts during the day, all the negative, and you went back and you go, my God, look at all those thoughts I said or thought. That would be a wake-up call to say, you know what, I need to change. I need to clear and clean up those thoughts because that's what your life is going on. So be aware of your thoughts and stop them in their tracks and say, I don't need that way of thinking. I don't need that thought. I'm letting it go. No longer serves me. And I'm going to replace it with, I am worthy. I am good enough, as opposed to, you idiot, you piece of crap. I am worthy. I am good enough. So you take the old thoughts and you toss them away. But you got to stop them in their tracks. And that's the whole thing. You catch them. It's like you're catching them. You stop them, catch them, you let them go, and you replace them with clean, good thoughts. And that will help with anxiety and things like that too.
Takes a little minute to rewire your brain that way, because I've had to do that myself. I'll be like,
yeah. Like I said, that took me decades to figure it out. I'm not figuring out to feel it. It's a sense of you gotta put the pause button on. Oh my God, I'm thinking that. And then after a while you catch yourself and then you go, oh, I don't need it anymore. But like I said, I'm 66. So, these are things that I've had to learn the last, 10 years or so.
It all helps. It really does. For real. It's helped me. I know that. Yeah. If somebody wanted to get your books, where can they find them?
Well, that's a great question. So anyway, my books, getting my sheet, you can go to, okay, so you can go to susanglenny.com/newsletter, where you get a free chapter from Moments in Time with 16 Men, this one. And what you do is you get to read about a really cool road trip that Jennifer goes on with Leo. And they go to Canada and they have a little run with the law, but it's actually one of my favorite chapters. And then you can also go to Amazon, of course, and you can get my books on Amazon. They come in Kindle, paperback, and audio. And again, each time someone buys my book, you are not helping me just as an independent author, but you're also helping the women at the New Horizons Domestic Violence Services, because I give a percentage of each book sold to them. So you're helping women hopefully get a fresh start. So it's a real win-win situation. It helps me, helps them, and it feels good to, give.
And it helps the reader.
It helps the reader. So yeah, you can go to Amazon and get there and go to my newsletter. Go to susanglenny.com for the free chapter, and you get to learn all about me.
Now, did you put any of your life into these, or is it all?
It's, it's a combination. It's like I did a really lot of research on abuse and documentaries. It was real nitty-gritty. It was hard. I mean, it was like, my God, some nights I wasn't sleeping. This was like 5 years ago. And I synthesized all this information. I saw documentaries. I'd listen to people on the subway or buses. So I put everything in a blender and I synthesized this plus my own experiences. And this is what came out. So some of it is me. Some of it's so not me. But the core, I think the core is, there's a lot of similarities, but there's also very much differences. Jennifer, for example, is a little pipsqueak. She's barely 5 feet. She's strawberry blonde hair. She's a terrific teacher. And I don't look anything like that. And that's with Moments in Time with 16 Men. And also, I took that spin off for the bow tie. And what's great is she does pick up the pieces. She gets her life back. She reclaims it. So it's a happy ending. She reclaims her life and she lives life to the fullest. She's just very, very grateful that has come that far and is able to live a very healthy, happy life.
As we all do. I love it. Very good. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
I think not. I just think I'm very, very grateful, Tiffany, for being here. Very grateful for the work that you're doing. And kudos to you. Super, super.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll make sure I put all your links in the show notes. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you or buy a book, it's right there ready for them.
Super, super. I really appreciate that.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tiffany.
I think we all know somebody who can benefit from this episode. Please make sure to share it with them. And thank you guys so much for listening to my podcast. This really means a lot to me. If one of my episodes has helped you in any way, I would really like to know. It's important for me to know that the work that I'm doing is actually helping people. If you want more of me, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram and TikTok. If you or anyone you know is in need of national hotlines, please go to truecrimeconnections.com. I have all the phone numbers there listed for anything that you could possibly imagine. All right, my Renowned Roots community, keep building hope and gaining strength. Until next time.